Hey, welcome to this episode of Gunfire. Today we're going to talk about rotary tumblers. We've got a bunch of 45 auto brass. This is Starline brass, been shot once, and some of it landed in the mud and on the snow, so we want to get that cleaned up. So traditionally I've used vibratory tumblers to clean these up, but we're going to use a rotary tumbler today. So this is a wet tumble operation. It uses water, a detergent, and then stainless steel pins, which actually rub against the shells as it spins, and really do a good job of cleaning up dirt. So like all that dirt inside, that gets cleaned out, and we're going to see how that process works, and we're going to see how they look when they're done. Okay, so these just finished. They've been tumbling for about 3.5 hours. They were really dirty, so I just wanted to give them a little extra in there. So we're going to take this now, and we're going to dump out the water and then separate the media from the cases. All right, so we're going to open this up and dump out all the contents. There's a seal on this thing, so water doesn't come out when it's rotated. You can see there's a bunch of foam. That's from the solution that we used, the detergent, and we're going to pour this in there. I can already tell the water is kind of murky. So here we go. It's pretty heavy, probably weighs about 25 pounds. Now I'm being careful not to lose any of the steel pins into the bathtub or down the drain. They're reusable and they're expensive. They cost about $40 for 5 pounds, so what is it, $8 a pound? So I don't want to lose those. The shower head's useful here for just cleaning up the inside of this. And we can see our brass is already pretty shiny here. See a combination of brass and pins. So we're going to deal with that in a moment. Before we do, I just want to get this thing cleaned out. So I'm just flushing it with some water, pouring the rest of the pins in, making sure I get all the brass out of it. So now we're going to close the top on this, and we're going to rotate it a few times and start separating some of the pins out. So that just closes on like that, and then you'll rotate this, but before we do that, we'll put the lid on so stuff doesn't, all the pins don't spill out. Alright, so now what I've done is rotate that to separate the pins from the brass. It's still all dirty, so the next step is we gotta start flushing the water to get clean water in there and get all the dirty water out. I actually got this upside down, which the separator upside down, which I think might work better because this has this little rim in here where pins get stuck, so we'll see if it's easier to get the pins out this time. So, this should mostly be cases. Most of the pins should be out of this by now, so we'll move that over here. And what we got left here is our dirty water. Since the pins are steel, they sink to the bottom, so we just carefully pour the dirty water off the top. So as I said, I'm doing this, I'm actually using this separator upside down, and I like this a lot better because there's no rim for these things, little pins to get stuck in like on the bottom. So I think I'm going to keep doing it this way. Alright, so now we're going to put some fresh water in there and start rinsing that out. You can see it's already a lot cleaner. And we just keep doing this, and then we'll do that with the other stuff too. Okay, so we're done rinsing the brass now. That's clean brass and clean water, and those are clean pins, and we're going to dump those back into the drum there for storage, and then we're going to take this stuff out and put it in the dryer. Now I just want to show you this magnet here. So what this lets us do is it lets us pick up pins, quite readily, and then you just pull this little lever up and it releases them. So you can use this to scoop up pins that fall. You can take these and you can easily kind of drop them back in here in the bucket. Now I like to just pour them into this thing out of the green thing, but if I have any at fall or have any issues with them, I just pick them up with the magnet. Okay, so here is our cleaned brass. It's still wet, so we're going to take handfuls of this and we're just going to place it in this thing. This is a Hornady dehydrator, but it is literally just a rebranded food dehydrator. So it's pretty standard. I guess probably a good idea not to dry your brass in your actual food dehydrator. So it's nice to have a dedicated unit, and that's what this thing is. So we'll just keep adding handfuls. Now you'll notice that the problem with this thing, because it is just a repurposed dehydrator, is it doesn't have a ledge here, so these can fall down in there. A couple is not a big deal, but you really don't want a whole bunch of them falling in there. Okay, so I just put the third layer on. This has 3 layers. You can see them. The bottom, 1, 2, 3, and this is the bottom. It's an airspace. So that's all filled up, and then we just put the lid on there. So this has the fan unit and the heater in it. And see, there it is, kind of fits into place. Hornady branding. Hit the on switch. Just starts sucking in air, warming it up, and blowing warm air through there. And so this is the finished brass. This is basically range brass that was really dirty. Got a whole bunch of it in bulk, about 1,300 cases. Sorted them out just to make sure they were all brass. Got all the aluminum cases out. And then I stuck these in the Rotary Tumbler for about 3 hours with water, the cleaning solution or detergent made by Frankfurt Arsenal. It's blue in color, 4 caps per drum. And then the stainless steel media, which are basically just a bunch of little stainless steel pins, spins around in there. You take it out, you put it in a dryer, which is basically a glorified, or really just a repurposed food dehydrator, and this is what you end up with. So what we see here is that this is very clean looking, and note particularly the insides are clean. Now that's something that you really can't get with a vibratory tumbler. The steel pins get in there, and as it tumbles and rotates, the pins kind of break up the dirt and any of the leftover carbon deposits, oxidization, whatever you've got in there, and the water then helps wash it away. So you get very clean insides. Now, I'm finding that this is not, I would not call this bling brass. This is clean. It's good to run through your carbide sizing dies, just fine for the chambers of your pistols, but it's not, it doesn't have a very high gloss. So what I would do is then, run these through a vibratory tumbler with corncob media and some tumbling polish to really get that super high gloss. But these are clean, they're good to go. At this point, it's really just cosmetic.